What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your good friend and host, Kory Willis. Hope everyone's doing well on a Monday. I hope you guys had a great weekend, got a chance to watch a lot of college football. There was a lot of great games over the weekend. So, I hope you guys had a great chance to, hang out with friends and family and enjoy the week that was week 7 in the college football season. So, yeah. As always, we appreciate you guys listening to the show. Guys, as always, we are on many different streaming platforms for you guys to listen to the show, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms out there. So, as always, we very much appreciate you guys listening into the show. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It definitely helps us know what we're doing, and it helps us improve the show for the future for you guys. So, as always, we very much appreciate you guys' support with the show. As always, you know who I'm with. I'm with my good friend and co-host. He is Chris Bolton. Chris, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. Feeling good. We had us another great weekend of college football. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It never disappoints us. And so I'm sure we're about to get into it here in a moment. But overall, just glad we got to watch just some matchups. We saw some games live up to the hype and come down to the wire, and we saw some other games. Some rivalry games that never disappoint. They always end up playing out the way they do. So, so I'm ready to get into all of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed. It's just like that Nas album, which some people regard as one of Nas's greatest albums. It was written in the history books, Chris. Like that's what I see with a lot of these rivalries. Of course, it was written in the Old Testament, brought back in the New Testament.
Yes.
We can always go back to these rivalries and look at history and know that some things never change.
If you've seen one LSU Ole Miss game, you've seen them all.
Yes.
So that's a prime example of that. And so I know we're about to get into all of it, but yeah, that's one of the games it lived up to the hype too, and it was everything we thought it would be, and even more so for LSU fans and Ole Miss fans too.
Yeah.
You hope some things play out a certain way, and just some things just never change.
It just never change.
Just never change. But we're going to get into all of that.
Yes, sir, indeed. Well, everyone, I think Chris pretty much wrapped up this week in a nutshell in terms of just what week 7 brought in terms of entertainment for us over the weekend. It was an entertaining weekend, and we had a lot of great games over the course of the weekend that had a lot of playoff implications to it. I'm sure the AP guys were scrambling all week to create their top 25 heading into week 8. So.
Yes, they I'm sure they were. There's a lot that went down, and even some teams that didn't lose, it made you raise your eyebrows a little bit at how their games played out.
Exactly. So we're gonna get into all of that on today's show. So we very much appreciate you guys tuning in. So yeah, man, great week that was in college football, week 7, Chris. We got to start out with probably the biggest game yet in the Big Ten, and that was between Ohio State and Oregon. Both of these teams came in ranked, riding high. They were undefeated, Chris. We knew somebody had to win and somebody had to lose this ball game, but in the end, Oregon came out on top, Chris, 32-31. I did see the play, or that everyone's kind of like looking back into, saying like, "Hey, did they Atlanta me to bring in an extra guy, to try to stir some mess up?"
That's exactly what he did. He did mean to do that.
Oh my gosh! That was very hilarious to see that happen. Where they had 12 guys out on the field. Dan Lanning purposely does that just so he can draw the flag.
Yes.
And get Ohio State off the Rockets. So.
I say, and then have more time off the clock.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
oh man,
yeah, that was just a wild finish overall. But 32-31 was your score in that ball game. Oregon is now 6-0, 3-0 in conference play. Ohio State's 5-1 within 2-1 in conference play. Dylan Gabriel, I mean, he had a really good ball game in this game, Chris. He was 23 for 34 with 341 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for a touchdown as well too. So he controlled this ball game. It was about as best as we've seen him this season. This was a big game, of course, and overall the Ducks rose to the occasion and got the W. So going forward, we'll see if Oregon can keep this up, if they can keep up with these winning ways out there in Eugene, and we'll definitely be tuned in to watch that. But as for Ohio State, Chris, man, you lose by a point. You don't get beat, badly or anything. I mean, it was a hard-fought game. I mean, you had some great plays by Travion Henderson. I mean, you say what you want to say about Will Howard. I mean, he didn't turn over the ball. Well, he did make a fumble, but he didn't throw any interceptions. He was 28 for 35, 326, and 2 touchdowns. But probably the biggest thing is him sliding at the end of the game instead of throwing downfield to just try to make a play. That was, you say what you want to say about Oregon's methods on trying to win the ball game, but hey man, you got to get the ball downfield some kind of way. You try to make some kind of play, and it was just time wasn't on their side. But I'm eager to hear what your thoughts are, Chris, about this game. Just because it was a big game in the Big Ten, and I would like to see both these teams play again, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure we probably will see them play again. Oh man, it was a great game. That's what I think. It was an amazing game. Came down to the wire. Just a few plays are the difference. I'm not going to this. I mean, we had 2 really good teams play each other. It does come down to a few plays, but you also hate to see the referees get in the way of the game. I think the offensive pass interference called on Jeremiah Smith on that final drive that wasn't an OPI had a huge impact on this game. It takes a first down off the board, and then also moves offense back another 10 yards. So we have that's a tough situation with the game this great, to have it come down to a couple of a blunder from, I feel like, the officials, but I also feel like Ohio State didn't do themselves any favors either with the last play selection. Me personally, Kory, they had 6 seconds on the clock and a timeout. Mm-hmm. You moved about 8 yards real quick, and you saw Oregon was playing the pass. I think a QB draw or a halfback, just an inside zone read, just give it to the running back to try to get some yards real quick. The play's going to be over fast. It's a run play, so he gets the yardage. You get down, call timeout, and you leave yourself with a second or 2 seconds. But, when you drop back and you see they're playing the pass, they're playing the sidelines, and you try to go from your first read to your second read. Now you're scrambling. That's too much time off the clock.
Too much
That's
time.
just it's too much time. That's the last play essentially at that moment. So I think Ohio State, if you gave them a mulligan, I think they would run the ball in that situation just because of the fact you had that timeout. Um, but Oregon played a great game. Both teams played a really good game. And,
They did.
you had plays made on both sides of the ball for both teams. And so a credit to Oregon. Dan Lanning, they play hard in the trenches. You see how physical that offensive line is for Oregon, and they ran the football all game long and made life as easy as possible for Dylan Gabriel. He didn't have to go win the game. He just had to play good football, solid football, distribute the ball, hand it off, make a couple of read option runs, and call it a night. And so big ups to Oregon. You did what you were supposed to do. Teams as evenly matched as these two are, and you're the home team. You would be disappointed in yourself if you don't come away with the victory. And I feel like if you're Ohio State, I don't think you're fazed by this loss at all. Of course, you didn't want to lose this game, but this is the hardest environment I believe you're going to play it all season. So for you to be right there and just be a couple of plays away, you should feel really good about your chances going forward. And then also when it's playoff time on a neutral field, you should feel really good about yourself. So I think it was a great game, and I think we should expect these teams to be in the mix going forward, Kory.
No, man, you're definitely right, Chris. I think they're definitely going to be back into the fold of things. I mean, they already are right now. I mean, as we're recording this on a Sunday, the AP is already out, Chris. So Oregon is number 2. Florida had not Florida, Ohio State. Apologies. They are now at the 4th spot in the AP poll. So they're still very much in this thing. So, and I think both of these teams are probably going to meet back up with each other in the Big Ten championship, which I'm all for. Both of these teams, had a heck of a ball game, and either one of these teams can, come out of that game as champion. So I do think that's definitely on the table in the Big Ten. But overall, I do think you're right. There were a couple of missed opportunities for Ohio State for them to take advantage of if they had a chance to win this ball game. But Oregon did what they needed to do. I think overall, Dylan Gabriel, he played about as good as a game that he could, going against a great Ohio State defense, and this offense that was really punching people in the mouth for weeks up until this game occurred. So I could say he probably played above the standard of what he needed to play in this game. If you're Dan Lanning, you got this one out the way. It's just really now trying to control the rest of the season about as best as you can. And, they still have a couple games left. I mean, they still have to go to the big house. I mean, I think they can handle Michigan at this point. They have at Wisconsin. Illinois is going to be a tough game. I mean, Illinois had they escaped this week.
Yeah.
So, I think everything is still in front of Oregon to have a good season. They just got to capitalize on everything in terms of managing the game well, and Dylan Gabriel has to play well, and try to limit mistakes going forward. So a big win for Oregon. I think this was a game that me and you had talked about earlier in the season, that if Oregon wanted to make it to a Big Ten championship, they had to get over the hump in some of these games, and some of these games consisted of a team like Ohio State that has, or along with Michigan, that has controlled the Big Ten conference. So, so yeah.
Yeah, no, Oregon, they're good to go. You look at their resume, that win 37-34 over Boise State ain't looking as iffy as it did at the time. Boise State's proven themselves to be legit. So, I think Oregon is catching the stride. They did play a clean game. I think that's the important thing for them going forward, like you said, is to play disciplined football because they have more talent than anybody on their schedule. So the only thing that really should beat Oregon and could beat Oregon is themselves. So I think that would be the priority for them going forward, is just to play disciplined, clean football. They should come away on top.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So yeah, that's basically the goal at this point. Play tough physical football and try to manage the game well and play a clean game as about as best as you possibly can these next couple of weeks, because we talk about trap games all the time. I mean, there's still some games that I had mentioned. Washington, still got to go to the big house. Wisconsin, you never know about them. I mean, Purdue gave Illinois a game this past week, along with Illinois themselves. So, there's still a lot of games left to be played, and you don't want to deal with that rat poison, as what Nick Saban always will talk about.
Right. You're absolutely right. So we'll see how both teams continue to play. Like you said, we'll get this. Well, more than likely, we're going to get this game again this season. Whether it's in the playoff, conference championship, we'll see these two again.
Yeah. Unless Indiana has anything to say about it.
Well, yeah, true. That's true.
Because they are 6-0 now. So, I mean, hats off to the Hoosiers. So, they're balling right now. So
they are balling. We got to give them some respect.
Yes, sir.
This is our season. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. No, you're right. You are right, sir. Well, anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on?
No, sir. We can keep moving.
All right. Well, now, Chris, we are going to move on to Dallas, Texas, where we had the State Fair and also the Red River Shootout game. I know that's one of your favorite rivalries in college football, Chris. Texas and OU.
Oh, yeah. Texas OU, Red River Shootout. Hey, we don't call it the Red River rivalry. It's forever the shootout.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Y'all can try to clean the name up all you want. Nope, it's still going to be the shootout.
Exactly. Oh yeah, man. This game was a big game, of course, all week here in the state of Texas where I'm at. And a lot of people that were OU fans, Longhorn fans, were anticipating this ball game, as they do every single year. But with the word of Burks at receiver being out for this game, and a ton of other guys being out also for the Sooners, we just thought that OU couldn't match up to Texas, and they couldn't. They lost this game 34-3 in Dallas, and now Texas is sitting safely at 6-0, Chris. The lone SEC undefeated team in college football right now. Could you imagine? Could you wait? Did you foresee this happening? Could you foresee them being 6-0? Us waking up and Texas being undefeated as the only undefeated team in the SEC, Chris?
Years ago, maybe 5 years ago, it would have sounded crazy. But after how Texas played last season and getting into the playoff, and you don't want to count your eggs before they hatch. But, seeing the schedule that Texas had entering their first year in the SEC, I'm not surprised. This is a great team. Texas is legit.
This is a really good team. Really good team. I mean, they got players everywhere, Chris. I mean, Quinn Ewers is balling. I mean, we can say what we want to say about Arch Manning, himself. I mean, he's going to be a guy that we're going to hear a lot about at Texas for years to come. But, Jaden Blue, Quintrayvon Wisener, these are guys that, have stepped up at the running back position, so, and the receivers. I mean, I can go all day and talk about Isaiah Bond and Ryan Wingo, Gunnar Ham, all these guys. They stepped up this year, so this is a really good team.
Yeah, Texas has all the pieces, and even with a mid game, I think Quinn would tell you himself he played mid. He didn't have his best game in his return back, but this team is just dominant. They have so much talent on at all positions, defense too, and we know Oklahoma's offense has been inept this season. It's still missing. We're still searching for the Oklahoma's offense, and it's still in the milk carton. It wasn't found against Texas. The team only put up 3 points. Everything was there for this game to not be competitive. The only thing that would make it competitive is the fact that it was a rivalry. And then you had some good fortune from Texas way, and I think that swung the game when Texas was about to score a touchdown, fumble the ball into the end zone. Oklahoma has a chance to recover, but nope. Texas gets on top of the ball, scores a touchdown, and you need plays like that when you're the underdog to swing your way. But Texas, they came up fortunate, and as the game played out, the better team continued to pull away, and you get what we had with the 34-3 win.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. I mean, they did miss a field goal and everything heading into the half and all of that. But Quinn didn't play probably the best game that he wishes that he would have played. But overall, this team toe to toe, player for player, Texas was just better on Saturday. So you got the win, took down OU, and that's just another building block to add to the season that you're trying to have. And I think the sky's the limit for Texas. They got Georgia coming up this week. We're going to talk about Georgia a little bit later in the show, Chris, but just a great performance by the Longhorns. So, we'll definitely see what they can do heading into this week. But going to the OU side of things real quick, Chris. This is their second loss of the season. They're 1-2 in conference play. They play Ole Miss this Saturday. We'll talk about Ole Miss a little bit later in the show. This year they haven't been well at running the football at all. I mean, I think the bright spot is Michael Hawkins Jr. I think he is the future of that program. But yeah, they haven't been able to change the pace of their offense because they haven't really had a running game at all. That's really, stifled this offense. The defense, is pretty good, but when you can't sustain drives by, running the football as well, you are what you are at that point. You can't really, go toe to toe with some of the big dogs in this league. And now if you're Brent Venables, I mean, one thing you definitely gotta do is recruit a running back and actually go out and get a better offensive line as well, to make sure that you can have a good running game going forward. But what are your thoughts about OU as of right now, what you've seen from them in 7 weeks of the season?
OU is this is a team that's they're in trouble. I mean, we've been saying it all season. Even in victory, that Auburn game, they took a pick 6 to beat this Auburn team. This Auburn team ain't good. You went toe to toe with Tulane, respectfully. You know what I mean? But it's still Tulane at the end of the day.
Yeah. You shouldn't be going. You shouldn't be, like at arm's reach right now. In a game with Tulane.
With Tulane, yeah, exactly. And this is the first year Tulane has their new head coach, John Summerall, and he's already been able to get a shift in the culture there. But I think Oklahoma's in trouble. Like you said, you can't sustain drives. You have a really good defense. One of the better defenses, I feel like, in the country, honestly. Regardless of what stats say, those guys are tough. They're tough. But if you keep trying the defense out there, you get 3 and outs. I mean, you can only hold up for so long, no matter how good your defense is. So this team is in trouble. They have no healthy playmakers at the receiver position. They've been banged up and injured at the receiver position all year. I mean, even coming into the season, this group can't get healthy. Guys come back, they're questionable on the injury report. They come back and then they have to go out at halftime because they get injured. It's bad. It's bad. You have no running game, and the offensive line was already a question mark coming into the season, and it's continued to show why it was a question mark and why people were like, how will that group be? And it hasn't been good. So it's not good. It's not looking good for Oklahoma, Kory. I think this team, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're hoping you get 7 wins. I just don't see how they continue, no matter what the schedule says. I just don't see how they find wins against even competition. Because that even though those teams might have their flaws, the flaws that Oklahoma has are drastic.
Yeah, man. It definitely is worrisome if you are an OU fan out there, because you're trying to be as consistent as you possibly can be in these games, and you want to be in these games, but you can't be because of injuries and for the little part of the year, just no quarterback play. But you seem to have found that out at the quarterback position. But you just don't have it all together overall.
Right. And he can only do so much.
Yeah.
Because all the other pieces aren't there either.
Right. So, it's hard to win when you don't have all of the pieces to the puzzle. So, yeah, man, it's difficult for OU right now. It's going to be interesting to see how they can manage the rest of the season with these deficiencies. But yeah, I think overall, you got to be kicking yourself if you're an OU fan right now, and if you're Brent Venables, you want to be competitive in this league, and Texas isn't playing nice right now with anybody, and you got to be looking down south right now in Austin and just saying like, man, I wish we were those guys right now.
Oh yeah, it's a double whammy, because not only are you bad, but you're sitting up and looking at your rival, your arch nemesis, out here, the top ranked team in the nation, and everything is all fine and roses, and you trying to find the quarterback, and they got 2. I mean, it's tough all the way around for Oklahoma.
Exactly, man. Yeah, well, I think it's crazy because we started out the year in wondering how Texas was going to handle their running back room, with some of their guys getting hurt, but they figured it out. They they figured it out pretty quick. Guys who stepped up and really rose to the occasion to help this team become what they are now. And you wouldn't even have realize that Texas had to deal with some injuries early in the season themselves. If you guys weren't looking and listening to us on the show on some of Texas's injury issues as well, but man, they have no weakness right now. So if you're OU, you probably are jealous at that. And all I can say right now is just keep chopping the tree. Hopefully you can catch a break at some point.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see. I ain't gonna say count on it, but just keep trying.
Just keep trying. But yeah, man, it was a big game for Texas, and they took care of business overall. But anything else you want to add about the Red River Shootout, Chris, before we move on to the next game?
No, sir. We can keep pushing.
All right.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes. We talked about some great matchups, but it's nothing like I think these games, a couple more games that we're about to get into, they really had some interesting implications.
Yes, sir, they did. And now we are going to segue into Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Chris, where the Crimson Tide hosted South Carolina over the weekend. We all saw what went down with the Crimson Tide in Nashville, Tennessee, where Vandy knocked out Alabama, and it was crazy. Top ranked Alabama, and Alabama came into this game ranked number 7 against a Gamecocks team that got embarrassed at home the week prior by Ole Miss, and they were looking at dusting that game off and getting back on track with a W. No, they saw that game against Bama and Vandy, Chris. So, this game was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even have imagined that this game would have ended the way that it ended. I mean, you had Jalen Milroe. He threw 2 interceptions in this game. It just seems like things were just like they were just kind of at pause, at a standstill, right in Tuscaloosa, Chris. Not even Ryan Williams wasn't even really making plays. Like, South Carolina was really D'ing him up out there on the field.
Yeah.
And he wasn't being targeted for majority of the game. But at the end, Alabama wins. They find a way to escape 27-25. With the help of South Carolina, I'll go ahead and say that. I would not give Alabama any outs in this game to say that they control this ball game. When you throw 2 picks, and did they also fumble? Yeah, there were fumbles in this game as well. I mean, it was all over the place. But overall, Alabama finds a way to win and win this game, and now they're getting ready to play Tennessee, the 3rd Saturday in October, Chris. We'll talk about South Carolina in a little bit, but in terms of Alabama, what transpired in this game, Chris? South Carolina gets an opportunity. They get an onside kick. We're thinking like, oh man, they only need to get downfield and kick a field goal to win. They make their mistakes. Alabama escapes this ball game, and that's after the Lenore Sellers fumble off the option.
And the blown 2-point conversion pass where you had the man open in the corner of the end zone.
Right. So yeah, you had that. So. And South Carolina missing the field goal in this ball game. So, you had all of these things transpire. But in terms of Alabama, seeing what you saw on Saturday, Chris, What are your thoughts about this team? Because I don't see this team surviving this long season ahead.
This team is what the new age of Alabama football is. This is what you are. There's no longer Nick Saban on that sideline. All respect to Kalen DeBoer, but this is where Alabama's going to be. You lose the GOAT, and there are ramifications to losing the GOAT as your head coach. And you have highlighted ever since the hire of Coach DeBoer that his offenses can be consistently inconsistent. And it looks like that's what this team is. Consistently inconsistent. Consistently undisciplined. They make a lot of mistakes, but they are very talented, and that kind of covers up your mistakes. But this team is going to be a headache for Alabama fans. This team isn't. I don't think they are so. The margin for what they can be is so wide. They can play some of the best football in college football, and they can play some really bad, undisciplined football that makes you want to jump through your TV if you're an Alabama Crimson Tide fan.
And break your TV.
Break your TV. I mean, they are high blood pressure television. Like, just go ahead and get ready. Your blood pressure's going to go up if you're watching the team. Be prepared for it. Don't eat nothing greasy. Don't eat your ribs. If you already got stuff going on, eat as healthy and clean as you can leading up to this game. If you're an Alabama fan that already is dealing with hypertension, because they're going to take you there. They are going to take you there.
Eat a salad, I should say.
Yes. Eat a salad, a little vinaigrette, just, nothing, no ranch, none of that. But yeah, this team they're a lot, Kory. Like, dude, they aren't bad, but they aren't great either. It's just all over the place, man. You don't know what you're getting from a week-to-week basis. This is the team that you stay away from on all your betting slips. Because they are liable to blow you out.
Yeah.
But they are also liable to be in just a squabble in a game you don't expect to be a squabble. You just don't know what you're getting from them on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah, and it I think now if you're an Alabama fan, like, man, you have to be reeling off of this. We could talk about it, Chris. I mean, we watched all of those Alabama games, the wins and the losses. When you saw Alabama football teams, and yeah, I know, folks, there are some instances where even those teams, guys were, quote unquote, as the kids say, crashing out. There were moments where, guys would get angry, irate with each other. Things wouldn't go the way that they needed to be. There were some, undisciplined errors being made. And, that's football. As with any sport. I mean, that's any sport. But overall, when you watch Nick Saban teams, Chris, there was always that sense of pride and, I guess, teaching of Saban and getting these guys ready to play and not making the mistakes that we saw this past Saturday and beyond this season. We would always see that. This season, I mean, you're seeing guys just make offsides penalties, all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And it's not doing this team any good when you still have to play teams like Georgia, and we'll talk about them later on. And you still have to play, Tennessee this week and other teams. It does you no favors when you're making these mistakes. And I don't know I can't tell you what this coming Friday. I mean, what this coming Saturday is going to be like. But overall, man, I don't know how it gets fixed at this point.
Oh, it's not getting fixed. This is who they are.
Yeah.
This is week 7.
Yeah. You are who you are.
This is who they were against South Florida early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
This is who they've been all season long.
Yeah.
This is Alabama. So you're just gonna deal with it and hope that the offense can be more consistent and maybe cover up some of the flaws with the secondary. It's still a young secondary. New defensive coordinator, trying to implement a scheme. We'll see if there's some tweaks made to the scheme going forward. But there's a lot being asked of this secondary to do, and they find themselves getting burnt at times. And they better be happy they play South Carolina. South Carolina refuses to learn how to win. This is a team that will never learn how to win. South Carolina, Ole Miss, teams like this, I feel like Kentucky, it seems like they just won't learn how to win. They have the talent. South Carolina has the talent. This team should be 5-1. You had LSU, you had Alabama. You found ways to lose both games.
Yeah, you had an opportunity to stop Ole Miss, And Ole Miss came in that game, lost to Kentucky, team they shouldn't have lost to, at home in Oxford. You got your fans back, just dealt with a storm. You wanted to create an atmosphere, a level of intensity that Ole Miss could not match. You couldn't even get that sold up that week. So, no, you're right. It's just unfortunate. Teams like a South Carolina, teams like Kentucky. We'll talk about them later on as well. Some of these teams just can't figure out ways to be consistent and win ball games. So it's unfortunate when you are a team like that and you're so close at winning and you just can't seal the deal. But it is what it is. Overall, Alabama escapes a game again, and I know we're going to talk about it later on this week, Chris. But that Tennessee game, man, and Tennessee themselves, they have their own problems.
So we can't even sit here and say, if you asked me a month ago, I would have felt like Tennessee's going to expose, continue to highlight the problems that Alabama has, and they just might. They might. But they got their own issues too. So I don't know. Bama very well can win that game and still be this team that we're discussing that has these critical flaws that they don't rear their ugly head now in the regular season. They will in the playoff.
Yeah. and that's crazy to think, but it's possible. I think the parity this season and beyond in college football has never been felt more than it has to start out this season, Chris. This is the parity that we all had in the back of our minds. This is what we're seeing now. And, for Alabama's sake, they don't have a guy like Nick Saban out there, instilling that level of consistency and just, looking out for, things on the field that can make them a better football team in terms of, decision making. These guys, they are who they are at this point. So I'm interested to see how this goes because, this is why we play the game at the end of the day.
That's right. That's right. So we'll see. this ain't the prediction show, but I'll go ahead and tell you right now, Corey. I don't know what's going to happen in Alabama, Tennessee.
Me either.
I have no idea how that game is going to play out. I mean, it's the world. Tennessee beats the stank off of Alabama. There's a world where Alabama beats the stank off of Tennessee. I don't know what's going to happen.
Me either. But I'll tell you this. We will be watching that game this Saturday.
We'll be tuned in, for sure.
Yes. I can't wait. And we will definitely, have our predictions on Friday's episode. We'll get a little bit more intel to see, both of these teams throughout the week, and hear some of the coaches' thoughts heading into this game. But man, Bama escapes against South Carolina. We'll see what happens moving forward. But anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on to another doozy in the SEC this week?
Now we can keep it moving. Let's get into it.
All right. Well, South Carolina and Alabama was the early game in the SEC on Saturday, but Chris, we did have one heck of a ball game on Saturday night where we were under the lights in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. LSU hosted the Ole Miss Rebels. Rebels came to town in a game that we talked about last week, Chris. The winner still in the hunt for a playoff spot. The loser most likely out. And this game, both teams, they were just making just very weird, odd mistakes where, I don't know, maybe they were trying to fill each other out throughout the game. But man, it was like 3/4 of this game was like a slog. It was just both of us just trying to figure out like who's going to hit the last knockout blow to seal the deal in this game. We had to go to overtime in this game. Ole Miss had their say in things. LSU decided, hey, we are going to now hit you with the Roman Reigns Superman punch to seal the deal in this ball game. LSU wins 29-26 with a go-ahead touchdown at the end to Kyron Lacy. Garrett Nussmeier to Kyron Lacy, Chris. And the people went wild in Baton Rouge. LSU is now 5-1, 2-0 in conference play, so their playoff hopes are definitely still alive. Ole Miss, they're 5-2, 1-2 in conference play. They look like they are most likely out of the college football playoff contention now, Chris. What are your thoughts about this game overall? Because this game, like I said, 3/4 of it had me almost on the brink of just like wrapping it up for the evening. I was like, all right, I gotta go to bed. No one wants to really, beat anybody. But what are your thoughts about this game? Because by the time we hit overtime, that's when the game got very exciting.
This was quintessential LSU Ole Miss. I mean, just a prime example of an LSU Ole Miss game. And Ole Miss continues to get in their own way. LSU won this game. LSU made the play that needed to be made to win this game. Lacy caught the back shoulder fade. They get the win. Credit to LSU. I'm not going to take anything away from LSU. Credit for them for making the play that needed to be made to secure a victory. But Kory, Ole Miss did everything, and I mean everything in their power to lose this game. LSU won the game. It says LSU won it. I will tell you that Ole Miss did even more to lose it. This team refuses to get out of their own way to get their head out of their own ass. The plays and mistakes that they continue to make, the mistakes that this coaching staff continues to make by not playing a Ulysses Bentley more than what they do, by not giving him more carries. When he finishes the game with less carries than Jackson Dart and Henry Parrish, but yet doubles the yardage that those two have. What are you doing? What are you doing, Lane Kiffin? Why does he continue to not play when he is clearly your best running back? Why does this team continue to make mistakes and get the penalties that they do? They don't capitalize on drives like they should. They should have been up 17-0 after the first quarter. When they didn't go up 17-0 and left the points in the field that they left, I already said to myself, they're losing this game. We've seen this movie before. I thought there was a chance coming into the season that this team would be different. But you know what, Kory? This is going to be my Ole Miss rant. This team is just like that team from 2009. You remember when Ole Miss had Snead at QB?
Yep.
They finished the year prior on a roll, had all the hype, was a preseason top 10 team. It's that bunch all over again. This team had all hype. Finished the year as a top team. All the transfers come to Ole Miss now. I mean, it's that season on steroids because it was even more juiced up this
Yeah.
year. And yet they continue. Hey, it's New Year, same story. Even though back then it was Houston Nutt. Hey, shout out to Houston Nutt.
Yeah.
Houston Nutt, who was the head coach back then.
Friend
now
of the show.
It's Lane Kiffin. Yeah. Now it's Lane Kiffin, and it's going to play out the same way. This team continues to just find ways to lose, shoot themselves in the foot, and it's tough, man. It's tough because I think this team is one of the more talented teams in the nation, but they just can't get out of their own way, Kory. They simply can't.
No, man, they can't. This is this is just ridiculous, Chris. Like, look, we're from Mississippi. We've seen what Ole Miss has done in their history. You know, of our years watching college football, we've seen what Mississippi State has done. We've seen how both of these teams have recruited against each other. We've seen how these teams have fared throughout their years of being successful. I gotta say this. In terms of Ole Miss, their inability of taking advantage of big opportunities when giving them. I've never seen a team in college football drop these types of opportunities ever, as much as I've seen Ole Miss do them. You mentioned the 2009 year, sir. Let's not even let's not us forget about 2014 and 15. Those are big years, especially the 2015 year. You beat Alabama back to back. You then go on the road the following week and lose to Memphis.
Yes.
And then everything just falls apart throughout the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you have, the Hugh Freeze, dealings and all of that, that ultimately cripple your program. And, at that point, you're just at square one again. This was a year that, me and you heard it, Chris, a lot of Rebels fans and a lot of people, a lot of national media pundits were looking at this team as being one of those 12-team playoff teams. they were hyping them up. You brought in Jackson Dart for this reason. You brought in all of this transfer portal talent for this reason. You got guys like Walter Nolan. All of these guys, Chris Paul Jr., all of these players. And this is what you're bringing to the table. This has to be the biggest flop in college football history.
It is. It's especially definitely for this season at least. But this is for all the chips that you put into this team is put on the table, and for you at the halfway point in a season where you have a favorable SEC schedule. And you already had 2 losses at week 7. This is worst case scenario.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's one thing if you lost to LSU without the Kentucky L, but once you got the loss to Kentucky, a home loss to Kentucky, you needed this game. You had to get one back. This game became one you needed. It was necessary. And then when you saw, I'm just gonna be honest with you, Kory, LSU isn't good.
No,
they're not good.
Garrett, look, I'm gonna let you go.
They're not good. How do you lose this game? He was out there just throwing gimmies, just prayers downfield, asking to be intercepted.
I was at a point.
I don't get them. I don't get it.
No, you're right, Chris. I was at a point where I was like, I was me and my brother was watching the game. I was like, did Jaden Daniels just siphon all of your athletic ability from the quarterback room? And Brian Kelly, I'm like, what is going on? You got this guy out here just chalking up 40 and 50-yard throws downfield. None of them are accounting for anything. I was sitting there wondering, I was like, who is behind Nussmeier? Should we be thinking about putting somebody else out here to, create some kind of a spark? Because we wasn't getting it. It was just, and look, we weren't in the stadium, but I could just tell from the TV that people in Tiger Stadium were just kind of standing on their hands at this point. Like,
quiet.
It was quiet.
The stadium was quiet.
Yes. It was
That tells you all you need
weird.
to know.
Yeah, right. That's all you need to know. And it took them all the way to an overtime. Well, to a late touchdown in the game to get it into overtime to potentially be Ole Miss, and eventually winning the game in OT. That's what it took. It took all of that at the end. And I'm looking at Ole Miss like, how did you allow this to happen? All of these mistakes, the offsides penalties in overtime from Ole Miss, like, all of that. I'm just seeing Lane Kiffin on the sideline looking animated. He doesn't have anything to say. I'm just like, this should not be happening. And you ultimately lose the ball game, and now we're here. Now all of this during the off season, I guess, was for nothing. We brought all of these guys in. A lot of guys came back. A lot of these guys could have submit NFL draft papers, Chris. They could have been like, deuces, I'm out. But they wanted to come back because they felt something special about this team. And now, you, along with Michigan, are the lone top 25 teams with 2 losses now. So, what that mean? Because it definitely doesn't mean you go to playoffs.
It ain't good company this season to be associated with Michigan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, this is just been a flop so far for Ole Miss. And Fortunately for them, they have a great opportunity for a bounce back game when you play Oklahoma. On
Yeah.
paper,
Right.
you would think.
Yeah, you would think you would think. Well, look,
You would think.
we'll talk about that game later this week because one would think that you're going back home to Oxford. Maybe you can find a way to beat these guys, but I don't know, man. Look, we said our piece about Oklahoma, Chris, but that defense is still pretty good.
Defense is still pretty good. It's much better than LSU's defense. And Ole Miss has had their struggles against LSU's defense, and now there's a possibility that Trey Harris, one of the best receivers in the nation, we'll see what his status is for that game.
Yeah,
because he got injured.
Yeah, and that's a big blow to this team. If Trey Harris can't play in this game coming up this week, where is your offense? Because we can talk all we want about the running backs and stuff. It took forever to play Ulysses Bentley. We were all a lot of Ole Miss fans were talking about where's Ulysses Bentley at? Didn't see him until Saturday.
Juice Wells has been a non-factor. I mean, it's a lot of weapons, a lot of guys that they have there that we haven't lived up to the hype, to expectations. So we will see, but tough loss for Ole Miss. But I know for yourself, as a Mississippi State fan through and through, it ain't the worst Saturday in your eyes.
No, I don't think so at all. And I guess before we get into that, is there anything else, my brother, that you want to mention about this game before we move on to the rest of the top 25?
We've hit it on the head. I feel like we've touched all bases.
Yes, we did. Well, yeah, I know you mentioned about Mississippi State. Yeah, they had a big game this past week against number 5 Georgia. Number 5 Georgia won this game 41-31. Now Georgia is 5-1. Like I mentioned, they're going to be heading to Austin, Texas in this ball game. But 41-31, Chris, was the score. And, I'm looking at Mississippi State and being like, hey, they could be like one of the best, worst teams in college football right now because, hey, you dropped 31 points on Georgia at their place between the hedges. Hey, that's pretty good.
The coaches will tell you they're not in the game of moral victories, but Mississippi State, for the schedule that they have, they've been playing some really good football. It might not show in the wins-loss column. You know what I'm saying? You ain't seeing it there. But anybody and everybody associated with this program understands what's taking place right now. And there are no complaints. There are no complaints.
No.
This is, as two state alumnus,
mm-hmm.
we only could wish and hope for the days that we could compete with Georgia. We just wanted Georgia, the Alabama games, those games to be competitive because they would notoriously be blowouts.
Right.
Hey, 2 freshman quarterback on the road at Georgia, lose by 10? I can take it.
Yeah, I can take that.
And you're well under the new head coach, you'll take it.
Yeah.
Especially after what we saw early in the season when this defense looked atrocious.
Yes.
And it's still not a good group, but this team is growing, man. They're making leaps.
They are.
The foundation is there.
They are. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, state fans out there, there's a 3-game home stretch. You got A&M, number 14 A&M coming to town this week. take those baby steps, see what happens, and try to continue to get better throughout the season.
That is an upset alert game.
Yes.
I mean, A&M may have turned the corner now, with their own coaching change. Maybe they will be a more consistent team, and it might be one of the more underrated teams, honestly. In the country, they're ranked, top 15.
Yeah.
But we'll see. That's these SEC games, man. These SEC games are crazy.
Yeah.
You really don't know how they're going to play out this year.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I will keep my eye very close this week because, in the SEC, there's always more victims on the chopping block in this new era of college football, Chris. But yeah, it was a great showing by the young quarterback Van Buren, and I think the Bulldog fans can be pretty happy right now, Chris. I think you found your quarterback.
Yes. Oh, you definitely have.
Yeah.
You definitely have. And it's only up from here for him. When you made your first career start at Texas, and then you also turn around and got to go to Athens, brother. Oh, it ain't nothing that he ain't seen now.
Right.
His career.
Yeah. He said, I went in two of the most dynamic, hostile environments in college football. Oh yeah, I can take on anyone.
Seriously, honestly, and so you can't tell him nothing.
Yeah.
So we're really about to see MVB cook up going forward.
Exactly. So yeah, we'll definitely see what happens with Mississippi State going forward. But quickly for Georgia, Chris, I think that game overall really showed you that, man, Georgia has a lot of problems. They went in that game having a lot of injuries, of course, but yeah, they have a lot to answer for coming this Saturday if they are looking to come out of Austin, Texas with a victory.
Yeah, no, a lot of things do have to be fixed. I think we're seeing there is a real tier cutoff. I mean, I think that Texas, Ohio State, and Oregon. I mean, I think we're looking. Those are the best teams.
Yeah.
And once you get into the Georgia, Alabama, LSU, I'm still TBD on Miami because I just kind of feel like Miami is a team that's they're very bored. Oddly, and I just feel like they kind of have to be challenged to bring their best out of them, which is a dangerous game to play. But
hey, that's life in the ACC, I guess.
But I think those teams are the better teams. And then when you once you get into like the 5, 6, 7 and on range, it's a real drop off. Georgia ain't the Georgia that we used to. Alabama ain't the Alabama that we're used to. Tennessee ain't what we thought they were. Notre Dame isn't who we thought they were either.
Yeah.
They've proven that. I mean, it's so on and so forth. There's a real drop-off, Kory. But, Georgia has some problems.
It is. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this coming Saturday. I know we're going to talk about it more on the prediction show this coming Friday, but yeah, man, I'd say you still have plenty of playmakers on this Georgia team, but man, to put it all together to stop a team like Texas and you have to travel there, that's gonna be tough, man. And knowing how Georgia has been kind of sporadic all season, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that game. But yeah, man, I can't wait to talk about it this week. So yeah, man. Yeah, Georgia got the nice win in Athens. I'll go back on Friday evening of last week, Chris. Arizona State beat number 16 Utah 27-19. I think it's time if you Cam Rising. You were 16 for 37, 209 yards and 3 interceptions. Look, Arizona State made Cam Rising just look silly in that game, and yeah, I think it's time for Cam Rising to kind of step away from the QB1 status at this point now. But overall, I will say this about Arizona State, man, that these guys look good, man. They're 5-1.
They are 5-1, and it's only bolstering how difficult Mississippi State's schedule was this year.
It does. It does. It really brings legitimacy to that schedule now. Like, hey, they played against a pretty good Arizona State team, man. I mean, Scatterbo. Can we say that Scatterbo? He had some really good runs in this game. Can we say that Scatterbo is one of the best playmakers in college football that no one's talking about in making a Heisman run?
Hey, Scatterbo is a Sunday player, Kory.
Oh yeah,
he's gonna be on somebody's fantasy team next year.
He definitely is.
Scatterbo's legit. He's a real deal. So yeah, this is Arizona State's a legit team. I like what I'm seeing from them, and hey, it's America's conference. It's wide open. Big 12. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
They're trying to make their claim. So we'll see how things keep playing out. But yeah, it's a wide open league, and we want to throw Arizona State's name in there.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you, man. You keep winning some games like this, Arizona State, I promise you're gonna make it far in college football this season. And I think they're very much in play for getting into a bowl game and really catapulting Arizona State into a force in the Big 12. But shout out to Coach Dillingham. I know you had to see that post game interview that he had made after that big win. I mean, hats off to a guy like that. He was a Arizona State alum, so he knows how much a win like that means to the Sun Devil faithful.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially, this is a team that had to hear all offseason about Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And the high expectations people have for Arizona.
Yeah.
They won't tell you, but I bet you that it had a part to play in how thin this team is after hearing that all offseason. That's all everybody wanted to talk about in the state.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so, it was it was a big win for Sun Devils fans, and yeah, I think on the other side, if you're a Wildcats fan, you're kind of looking at Arizona State. It's just kind of, it's kind of like the Squidward meme, where you just seeing, SpongeBob and Patrick having fun. It's like, what could have been?
Which fish didn't leave, that's how they're feeling right now.
Exactly. So, hats off to Arizona State for the victory. So, now, Chris, we're going to go to Southern California. Number 4, Penn State went to USC and beat USC 33-30 in overtime on a field goal, improved to 6-0. And, now if you're James Franklin, you got USC out the way, and now you're heading into bigger things throughout the season overall. But did you get a chance to see this game?
Man, I was watching it, going back and forth, and I said at the beginning of the show, this is the theme. some things just never change, Kory.
Some things just never change.
Some things just never change. Ole Miss is going to Ole Miss. South Carolina is going to South Carolina. And SC is going to SC.
Oh, my God.
USC had this game.
Yeah.
And Penn State was Penn Stating. Mm-hmm. In Penn State fashion, SC had a lead in this game and should have won this game. I know Penn State's the third-ranked team in the nation, but they are not the third-best team in the nation, Kory.
Yeah.
I just want to go ahead and put that out there. I just want to go ahead and say it. Good win for Penn State, finding a way to leave Cali with the dub. But this is what I mean about this year. Like you said, this is a weird season.
It's a weird season.
And I think there are a lot of highly ranked, not great teams. Mm-hmm. And it starts with Penn State being the third-ranked team in the nation.
What world are we living in? You know, bizarre land.
Yeah. And it might not get exposed in the regular season. We'll see.
We'll see. Look, still a lot to play for.
The playoff is going to be crazy if things continue to go this way. Because Penn State's one of those teams that whoever they play in their first matchup, if they get a bye, or we'll see how it all plays out. But I don't know who they'll be playing, but I would probably be putting the bag on them to beat Penn State, because I'm not moved by this team. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens for the rest of the season for Penn State. There's still some big games. I mean, they still got to play Ohio State, so that's gonna be their toughest test yet. And I mean, I think that's gonna be the test, Chris. And we're gonna see how good is this Penn State football team going forward. And you know, if they can get through that game, then maybe we're talking about possibly a Penn State, Oregon, Penn State, Indiana. We'll see. It somewhat. I mean, we could say that the Big Ten is still kind of wide open overall. So
it is. You're right. It definitely is when you have a team like Indiana emerging the way they have. You got trap game threats like a Purdue and Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Minnesota is a pesky team, so there is a lot on the table still, and for that being a top 2 team in the conference and then earning a spot in the championship game.
Exactly. So yeah, man, it's still wide open. I mean, Iowa found offense this week. This past Saturday, so you never know. But in terms of Penn State, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they can handle the rest of the season. But you got to get through that Ohio State game, and then I think we'll really start to see what they can do going forward. But yeah, big win. Hats off to James Franklin and Drew Allard and company. So we'll see what happens. This game, Chris. This is also an SEC game that went into overtime. We were kind of going back and forth over the weekend, and you were watching this game a little bit more than I was. But Tennessee hosted Florida and won this game 23-17 in overtime. Touchdown to Dylan Sampson, and that was his third touchdown, and for them to win that ball game. But man, it in terms of, and I mean, we've talked about Florida, but in terms of Tennessee, this was a game that at one point going into overtime, it was just 3-0 in Florida, and it was like one of those weird games where Tennessee couldn't muster up any offense, and it took them all the way, up to the end of the game to, really, win the game at the end. It kind of was reminiscent of the Ole Miss LSU game to a point. But assess your thoughts on Tennessee, because, man, I don't know what it is. It kind of feels like last season where you had, Joe Milton and company kind of stalling out, not really finding, that much of an offense when they needed to put teams away. Granted you had talent, but it's just kind of one of those weird seasons, in the middle of the year. Well, what are your thoughts right now?
Yeah, Tennessee is they're another extremely talented pretender.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of pretenders. That's been my realization. Season continues. Forget about the numbers by the next to these teams, the rankings. They have the pieces, I think. I just don't think they're ready.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll grow into being ready as the season continues. But Tennessee has some problems with this.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Billy Napier, Florida team, a 2-point conversion try away from winning the game against you on the road in Eden State? Billy Napier is a dead man walking in Gainesville.
and Lane Kiffin can tell you that right now.
He can confirm that. He can say he can confirm that. And they almost beat you. And this is a Tennessee fan base that I know has been talking hot smack all season long.
Yes.
Couldn't wait to put their paws on Florida. And this is how it played out.
Oh my gosh.
There's problems in Tennessee, man. Problems in Knoxville. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think the game might just be a little too fast for Nico.
Maybe so.
This is his first season as the starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He had the one bowl game last year. But granted, it's the bowl game. You had a lot of practice leading up to that game, scheming up for that one singular game. This is his first time being a starting quarterback, and week after week, the game plan changes. What you're going to see from different defenses, from different teams, changes. And it's been a lot for him.
It's been a lot.
So, and this is, I think, just that natural struggle that you're going to see from a young quarterback. We know how talented he is. At the end of the day, he is a true freshman quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we're seeing play out. We're watching a young quarterback lead a team. Yeah,
and that's going to come with growing pains. It doesn't matter how, good of the rest of the players that you have out there. He's going to, have his growing pains as well. And he's the leader. He is the quarterback. So that takes time to build that camaraderie and that leadership and that know-how in order to, take a team with such high expectations. I mean, you're asking a guy that young with so many expectations to, win a national championship. That's not easy to do. So I definitely agree with what you're saying, Chris. Maybe that's definitely what's playing into effect with the season so far, because you can beat a couple Joe Schmoes and NC State in the beginning of the season, but when it's really time to hunker down and beat actual in season conference opponents, can you be consistent in doing that, week to week?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're saying, that's what's playing out.
Yep, I agree. Then we keep things pushing forward. On the other end of that, you have a veteran quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we're seeing play out with Clemson.
Yes.
The ranked Tigers beating Wake Forest 49-14. And this is a team that since that Georgia beat down, they've turned it up, Kory.
Yes, they did. 49-14, Chris, was the score over Wake Forest. Clemson is now 5-1. Cade Klubnik, He was 31 for 41 with 309 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, K's been balling out his mind. Clemson has been balling out of their minds the last several weeks. You know, we look back at that Georgia loss, and yeah, I think, you know, at the beginning of the season, Georgia does that to everybody. But Clemson, I'm not gonna lie, Chris. And you may agree with me. I think Clemson is one of the most dangerous one-loss teams in America right now.
Kory, they are not the 10th best team in the nation. This is, I would argue, I would firmly place them as a top 6 team.
Mm-hmm.
If Penn State and Clemson played on a neutral field today, I'm picking Clemson.
Yeah.
If Clemson and LSU played today on a neutral field, I'm picking Clemson.
Yep. I am too. It's too much, man.
Clemson is legit.
They are. They are. I mean, they are. They are scoring at will. Phil Maffa is a beast at running back. I mean, just give him the rock like 20, 30 times, and he's going to get downfield. he really does remind you of EDN during those days at Clemson. So, yeah, man, I'm not counting Clemson out of this final shot.
I would even go as far to say initially we thought Miami was a class above everybody in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting Clemson right next to them. I think they are just as good as Miami. Miami might be the more talented and the flashier team.
Mm-hmm.
The highs are higher with Miami. But week in and week out, Clemson they are strapping up. They lacing them boots up. And whoever is in their way is getting beat down. This team does not play down to their comp.
They don't.
And I feel like you can trust this Clemson team more than Miami.
Yeah.
They're saying something. I really think Clemson is legit. They have, like you said, they are one of the more dangerous teams. They are a legit problem and can really be a surprise team in the playoff if they continue to play the way they're playing.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Chris. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Clemson can do for the rest of the year. But yeah, hey, watch out, Miami, because I don't think you want to mess around with this Clemson team at this point of the season. They're getting stronger by the week, and I can't wait to see what happens going forward throughout the rest of the season.
If that is the ACC championship game, that's gonna be quite the game to watch.
Yeah.
As much as I love Miami, if you told me to pick between the two today, Kory, based on how they've been playing, I'm picking Clemson.
Oh yeah.
My tune has changed. I'm going with Clemson.
Oh yeah.
I never thought I didn't think I would be saying this.
I didn't think I was going to be saying it, but they have figured out a way to manage this season, and hats off to Dabo. You know, maybe Dabo knows what he's doing. You know, maybe he don't need to worry about the transfer portal.
I need to worry about the portal. It ain't working for Ole Miss. So
that's proof. Hey, what have you asked? what have you had asked him? Like, hey, Coach Sweeney, like, you know, I know you don't really, you know, dabble into the transfer portal that much, but you know, why don't you you know, believe in the validity of the transfer portal for you? And what if he's just like, hey, I mean, look what happened to Ole Miss, you know? That's the first thing come out of his mouth.
It's probably what he's talking about with his staff. We can't confirm or deny that, but hey, look, Dabo's philosophy, if they keep playing like this, forget that portal. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, man, he's validated, man. He at this point. Oh man. Well, yeah, man. Yeah, hats off to Clemson, and we'll definitely be interested to see what they do next coming up. So yeah. Number 11, Notre Dame. Chris knocked out Stanford 49-7. They're now 5-1. Riley Leonard was 16 for 22, 229 yards with 3 touchdowns, and he also ran for a score as well. So Notre Dame still trying to make a case for themselves as well. Iowa State, number 11, Iowa State. They beat West Virginia 28-16. Rocco Beck, he was 18 for 26, 265 yards and 1 touchdown. Threw a 60-yard bomber for a touchdown in that game as well. So, Iowa State, they still balling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Iowa State doing what they do. 3-0 in the Big 12, undefeated, having continuing the magical season.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we'll definitely see what happens with the Cyclones moving forward. Number 14, BYU defeats Arizona 41-19. BYU, Chris, they are now 6-0. Your thoughts about that?
I love it. Be another team continuing a magical season. BYU,
they're dangerous.
Well, they're one of the 10 best teams in the nation too. Yeah. I think we'll talk more about this after the show, Kory. But we should do our own mid-season top 25, and I think some of the teams that are ranked a little lower might come out higher than what the AP has for us, because BYU, another team, if they played Penn State today, I'm picking BYU to win that game.
Yeah.
I really like what I'm seeing from BYU. Even I would go as far as picking BYU to beat Alabama and LSU.
Wow.
I know that sounds crazy, but BYU make mistakes.
They don't.
And I think a team like BYU will really test Alabama and how undisciplined they are.
Yeah. Yeah, they would come up to Alabama and be like, "We're gonna show you exactly how the way Nick Saban teams used to play." It's that reverse psychology right there, Chris.
That reverse psychology, you ain't lying. But yeah, no, BYU this isn't no fluke. This is not no fluke.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. Yeah, this is a tough team right now. But I tip my cap to you if you got to play BYU next week, whoever that is. So yeah, man. Yeah, hats off to BYU for that big win over the Wildcats. Number 17, Boise State went to Hawaii. Chris, 28-7 was the score at the end. Boise State now 5-1. Ashton Gianti still balling like he always does. He had 31 carries for 217 yards and 1 touchdown. Still showcasing why he's still doing what he does out there, and still showcasing why he is the best running back in college football today. So yeah. Mm-hmm. This game I watched later in the evening, Chris, and I know you were probably tuning into it too. Number 18, mm-hmm. K-State, Kansas State, goes to Colorado. They win that game 31-28. Colorado started to come back a little bit. Shadur Sanders and company were, making that game interesting. But overall, Avery Johnson, did get these guys to get past the Buffaloes, and he did get injured in that game, but he ended up coming back overall. But a big win for Kansas State. They're now 5-1, and we'll see what happens with them throughout the rest of the season. But did you get a chance? Any thoughts about that game? Did you get a chance to see it?
Yeah, I did get to tap in, and man, unfortunate for Colorado, Travis Hunter
Yeah.
suffering a shoulder injury.
Mm.
You know, the impact he has on his team, and they had a couple more injuries. Some wide receivers just dropping like flies, man. Colorado, I think they're turning the corner there. You know, they didn't look to win this game, man. They had all the bullets to their disposal, had all their weapons.
Yeah.
This could turn out differently. They were right there. Gave Kansas State a great game. You know, it's a tough loss for Colorado. I really would have loved to see Travis Hunter in this matchup because I think he makes a 3-point difference.
He definitely does when he's out there. So I mean, yeah, that was a tough blow for the Buffaloes. You know, hopefully Hunter can get back into the lineup for Colorado, because they're gonna definitely need him as we progress throughout the season. And I mean, we're already midway through, so definitely gonna need him if they want to make to a bowl game and still kind of make some noise throughout college football. But a big win for K-State. Missouri earlier that Saturday, Chris. They how about this? They went all the way to UMass and won that game 45-3. They took control in that game, but it was one of those things where you wanted to see Missouri get back to those winning ways, and it was like a 24-3 lead going in halftime. Shoot, I was looking for more than that after the lack of offense that we had against A&M. But overall, 45-3 was the total in that game. So, what are you looking at specifically for Missouri as we're kind of getting more into the meat and potatoes of the season, Chris?
Yeah, no, that's the kind of win that Missouri needed. You expected them to figure some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was a good punishment game. You got to travel all the way to UMass, Massachusetts. Get your stuff together. This is if that beat down to A&M wasn't enough, now you got to travel all the way up north to play this game.
Right.
So I think that helped straighten the guys out, and you got a 45-3 win out of Missouri, and we'll see if they can carry the right from this game over going forward and do this against legitimate competition, because that's what we're waiting to see.
Yeah. So yeah, still a lot left to be played for Missouri. So we'll see if they've really gotten better and have fixed some things going forward. Last two games, Chris, before we go on to our Chief of the Weeks and get out of here for today's show. Pitt beat Cal 17-15. It was I did kind of look back and forth in that game a couple of times. That Cal was really giving Pitt a game, but overall Pitt did squeeze out of this game with a victory with Desmond Reed's 72-yard rushing TD to get back in that game and ultimately win it. So it's crazy. Pitt is 6-0. We talk about Clemson and Miami, Chris. Pitt 6-0. And, they don't even get a say. Anything.
I know. Pitt, and I mean, they're having a great year, but I think a little bit, part of me kind of feel like this team is a pretender too. I mean, they're 6-0, but they Cal traveled all the way across the country to come play you guys. And
wow.
Yeah. You beat them 17-15. So I think if you're legit, I think you beat Cal a little more soundly, personally. But hey, good win. You're undefeated.
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, we can look at Miami. We can say the same thing about them. In their trip to Cal. So, there's still a lot of football left to be played, Chris. I mean, they got to go to SMU, and still got a game against Clemson. Got to go to Louisville and finish up with Boston College. So that's not
Syracuse ain't no joke either.
Syracuse isn't. They're not. So there's still a lot of football left to be played. So if I'm Pitt, no days off. That's all I can say about that. So we'll see if Pitt is for real or if they're pretenders, like you say, Chris. So I'm interested to know about that as well. And finally, Illinois beats Purdue 50-49. They won that game by the hair of their chin, Chris. And it was a sack on a 2-point conversion to finally knock out the Boilermakers in this ball game. So man, Luke Altmaier still balling. He was 20 for 34, 379 yards, Chris, and 3 touchdowns. So Illinois is still riding high right now.
Yeah. Hey, look, sometimes you're happy to get the win. Tough game. Purdue came storming back in this one.
They did.
You had the game in hand, and then it was out of hand.
But that's what Purdue does from time to time, Chris. I mean, look, they may lose the game. That's usually what they do.
That is. They found a way to fall their way back into it, and boy, you're just happy as an Illinois fan that you somehow got the victory, and keep things going. Trying to continue to have a really good season. Can this team win double-digit games? We'll see, but you're not gonna make it happen unless you win that one right there in front of you, and they found a way to get the win. So big ups to Illinois.
Exactly. So yeah, man. Yeah, that's all the games in the top 25. I guess one of the games that wasn't in the top 25, Chris, that we'll go over. Vanderbilt beats Kentucky at Kroger Field. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, look, we were looking at the AP top 25 before. Vandy is trying to claw their way into that bad boy. I know they got a couple losses. But back-to-back SEC conference wins, one at home against the number 1 team in the nation at the time, and another on the road.
It's pretty good.
At Kentucky. A solid Kentucky team. An unpredictable Kentucky team, but yet nonetheless a solid Kentucky team. A team that felt really good. Thought they had it on the upswing after beating Ole Miss. And you go to their field and they beat them. Hey, Clark Lee is cooking something up out there in Nashville, ain't he?
That man he got the chef hat on and everything, man. He is cooking. He's flambeing out there in Nashville right now.
He's going in, man. He said himself he had to change things up from what he was doing initially, and it's paying off. It's paying off. Vandy is. They are not the Vandy that we grew up knowing, Kory.
No. And you know what, Chris? I think, and some people have mentioned it, with Vandy, they do reside in Nashville, Tennessee. You don't just lay down in a world or in an era of college football now, Chris, where you got NIL and you're Vanderbilt and you're in Nashville and you have all those doctors as alums, accomplished doctors out there, and with a lot of deep pockets that can get you to where you need to be at. So I got the theory that maybe Vandy has figured out a way to still be competitive in this world of NIL into college football.
Well, yeah, that's the case, and you're in the SEC conference, and even if you're one of the bottom barrel teams in the league, that's still going to be a selling point to get guys there. And if you're a team building, it's moments like this that can continue to get that momentum rolling, and maybe you'll continue to get some more guys that you just normally wouldn't get. You might get a 4-star guy that in the past would never consider going to Vanderbilt to come join you. So we'll see. They have something cooking there, and I think kind of the same in a sense. If just branching off, but another team in the league, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can use that as a selling point too. Like, they are legit. It seems like 1 or 2 elite guys away from winning games, finishing games that they should win.
Yeah.
And that's what you can use as a selling point in recruiting. Like, if you come to us, this 5-star guy, you could be the guy at the Alabama game we lost. We don't lose because we have you. The LSU game we lost, we don't lose because we have you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see. But yes, back to Vandy though. Vandy is doing their thing. Shout out to Clark Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, man, it was great week.
Get Vandy in the top 25.
Yeah. Please. Like right now, they're on the outside looking in. With 68 receiving votes, so they're almost there, Chris. I mean, we can't forget about Army and Navy right now. Army's 23, Navy's 25, but
get them out the top 25.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get them out of here. They are bringing nothing to the world of college football right now but disappointment.
Yes.
But yeah, man, it was a great week of college football in week 7, Chris, and now we turn to week 8. But before we do, our Chiefs of the week, Chris, sir, who is your Chief of the week?
My Chief is a veteran quarterback for the Illini, Luke Altmaier. In a game that got crazy, in a game that you need your veterans to step up and find a way to will the team to victory after a team comes surging and storming back. Luke did that. Luke went 20 for 34, 379 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. And the Illini get the win in OT over a Purdue team, a pesky Purdue team that came one play away from winning. But the Illini continued the special season. They're 1 game away from being bowl eligible.
Nice. Well, my Chief of the week goes to none other than Cam Scatterbo, Chris. 22 carries, 158 yards with 2 touchdowns. His longest for today was a 50-yard run. And yeah, I think this man is he is the guy that has brought Arizona State to a 5-1 record. So hats off to Cam Scatterbo, because man, without him, I don't think Arizona State would be this good right now.
Yeah. No, for sure. He is the heart and soul of the Arizona State team. So, shout out to Scatterbo. I think we'll continue to be saying that name more and more as the years continue. Because I'm pretty sure he's going to be in the NFL, Kory.
Oh, yeah. And if not, then what are you doing, scouts? What are we doing? So, yeah, man. Hats off to these guys this week. But yeah, man, it was a great week 7, Chris. I know we got week 8 coming up. Got some big games: Tennessee, Bama, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. We'll see what happens with that. And yeah, just it's gonna be an interesting week, I should say. So, any big games you're looking forward to that I may be missing?
Man, we
Georgia,
got
Texas.
a bunch of. I mean, we got a lot. You know, like I said, Georgia, Texas. That's going to be a big one. Then who else? Let's see. We had Kansas State, West Virginia. That's an interesting game.
That is interesting.
LSU, Arkansas. Hey, man.
I'm picking Arkansas.
I'm telling you right now, that's an upset alert. Upset alert. LSU, Arkansas. That is going to be quite the game, man. It's at night.
Oh, man.
Arkansas can find their way to top 25 if they win this one.
They could. Look, things get weird in Arkansas. Things get weird in Fayetteville. We've seen it.
Goodness, it's a known fact that they get weird and crazy in Arkansas and Fayetteville, and it's both of these teams. Just you don't know what you're going to get with them. I mean, Arkansas can blow it, but hey, it's the reason LSU's only a 2.5-point favorite. This game is up for grabs.
It is. I think this is another one of those. I mean, maybe not for Arkansas, but I think this is another one of those high stake style of games in the SEC where there's a lot riding for it. Arkansas is trying to get over the hump, and LSU's just trying to stay on the hump. So there's a lot at stake in this ball game, but I can't wait to watch it. It should be a good one.
And even for in Arkansas, I mean, let's just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Just take a look and see what could be the case for them if they win this game, despite blowing that game against Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
Kory, they're in the playoff hunt.
They
if they win this game.
Yeah, they are.
You play at Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Not an easy matchup by any means, based off what we've seen from Mississippi State lately. That would be a tough game.
Yeah.
But beat LSU at that state, you welcome Ole Miss. Ole Miss might be a reeling Ole Miss team. You welcome Texas to town. The games that you look at as your toughest games, they are home games.
Mm-hmm.
And you play Louisiana Tech and you go to Missouri. Missouri has had their questions. It's not impossible. This team, if they win that LSU game, look, you can find yourself right there knocking at the door as a 10-2, 9-3 SEC team. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. But if you win this game, you give yourself a slim chance to still be alive as a possible playoff team if you handle business going forward, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. What could have been, Chris, had they just took care of business against a now we know weak Oklahoma State team. So this team would have had one loss. It would have just been against A&M. So, man.
Yeah, that's what they're in Arkansas right now. But you got to put that behind you. You win this LSU game, you give yourself new hope.
Yes, you
new
do.
Life.
Yes, you do. So yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting one. Auburn, Missouri. I mean, look, I think the jury is out on Auburn. This team's not good, but maybe there's something still left to play. You got to go to Missouri. Let's see what happens.
We will. Missouri's been bad, but that might be that game might get ugly. It might be a blowout.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. We will see. We will see. And, Nebraska, Indiana, Virginia, Clemson, it's some good games coming up. So
yeah, for sure. For sure.
But yeah, man, we will be back definitely to talk about all of this on Friday's show. But before we get out of here, Chris, I will go ahead and leave the floor to you on the outros. Let the good people know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, you can find your boy on Twitter at Chris_Bolton_12 and on Instagram at Chris.Bolton_. Holla at your boy.
All right. Yeah, and you can find me on X at Listen to KSW, all one handle, on there talking college football and other things as well. So be sure to find me on there. But yeah, guys, we appreciate you guys listening to the show. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe as always. And until next time, I'm Kory Willis. He is Chris Bolton. You are listening to the Breakdown Sportscast. Peace.
Peace.